How are you feeling about your skin at the moment? Not loving mine at the moment, I've got to say. During COVID, a lot of us, well, me anyway, went a bit skincare crazy. And I'm not alone. Have you heard of the phrase skintellectual? I only heard this the other day, but plenty of us are getting real scientific with our skin, but as a result are spending a small fortune on products. But the bad news is you can spend a fortune on products and still see absolutely no results. Hey, I'm Kate and you're watching The List. This is a show where I tick off all those things I never get around to ticking off on my list and hopefully save some money and inspire you to do the same thing. This week, I'm talking skincare. It's possible to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on skincare. Hi, Gwyneth Paltrow. And frankly, is spending all that money helping, or is it just money going down the drain? Well, technically, just going into your face. Walk into any department store, go online, and it is so overwhelming. I literally have no idea. So I wanted to talk to someone that has a really intimate knowledge of the beauty industry and the science chops to back it up. Dr. Ginni Mansberg is a GP. She's an author. You might have seen her on TV. She's also the owner of ESK, which is Evidence Skincare, which is a line of skincare products that are grounded in actual scientific research. What that means is that the ingredients used in her products are based on real research, not just something a marketing person has dreamt up to put on the label. I wanted to talk to Ginni about what to look out for, what works with skincare, and more importantly, what to avoid so we're not throwing money down the drain or on our faces for no results. She also has a great anecdote about some of those super expensive products you see in the stores that I think you'll be quite surprised to hear about. I really was. I'll never look at them the same way. So without further ado, let's jump in and talk to Dr. Ginni Mansberg.
Ginni, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What are those main killer ingredients that people should look for if they want to start looking after their skin better?
I think everyone knows that sun is bad for skin and you need reasonably good sun protection. Just a reminder that UVB for burning is what is protected with the SPF. So the SPF number refers to the multiple of time you can be in UVB rays before you burn. So for example, if you normally burn in 10 minutes, if you put on an SPF 30, you will burn in 300 minutes. So that's what the SPF refers to. But for those of us who are keen not to look like an old prune by the time we're 55, we are really concerned about UVA rays. So it's A for aging. And the SPF doesn't talk about UVA rays. It's really a government regulation to help us prevent skin cancer, which is what they're really worried about. So to get UVA protection, you need a broad spectrum sunscreen, and your sunscreen has to say broad spectrum. I think a lot of dermatologists, plastic surgeons and scientists and me like physical sunscreens or inorganic sunscreens. There are two available, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. For a variety of reasons, mainly around not irritating the skin. I prefer zinc oxide, but that's it. That I think a lot of people know. I think what we're looking for in terms of blockbusters are what I call A, B, and C. So A is the vitamin A. Back in the 80s, it was all about, and maybe 90s, it was all about retinol. So that is a derivative of vitamin A. The problem is that it's so far removed from the vitamin A that your skin can use that you need to put quite a lot into a product in order to get some of it dribbling out the other end as an active form of vitamin A. And that can cause irritation, but also it's a little bit patchy in its efficacy because some studies show that it's good, but it's not good for everybody because you've got rate limiting enzymes in your skin. These days, I think you would consider retinol a bit of an old school ingredient that we've superseded with Retinal. And Retinal is, in head-to-head studies, equally effective to the prescription forms of vitamin A, but minus the irritation, which is awesome. Because prescription vitamin A, which is great and has the most evidence for it, about a third of the people who use it can't use it because of irritation and redness. So that's vitamin A, number one blockbuster. B is we're really referring to vitamin B3, which is niacinamide. That's a bit of a blockbuster drug as well, or ingredient as well. It's best in concentrations between 2 and 5%. That's where the evidence sits. So I've seen 20% niacinamide serums. There's just no evidence for them at all. But they've been linked to from everything to sort of better hydration, less what we call transepidermal water loss, so less sort of skin dehydration, to less pigmentation, less aging. So it's a pretty good blockbuster drug for everything from acne right through to aging, which is the same as vitamin A. So it's a really good one. So B is the second one, and then C is your vitamin C, but you only want L-ascorbic acid, which is the only form of vitamin C, and you only want it in either somewhere between a 5 and 10% concentration. There are some high concentration vitamin C products around. Some studies are starting to actually come through for that, but most of the evidence exists within the 5 to 10% space, often combined with vitamin E. So vitamin E doesn't work on its own, but when it's combined with vitamin C, seems to work quite well, particularly for fine lines and wrinkles. And what we do is we look at every single dermatology journal every single week, and we do a new literature search, and we come up, and so we have 2 products in train at the moment that are driven by changes in the literature. So one of the newer ingredients to be combined with vitamin C seems to be ferulic acid. So combining ferulic acid with vitamin C seems to confer some additional benefits. So they're your big 3. The other ones that you'd want to do is your alpha hydroxy acids, which are the chemical exfoliators, and your beta hydroxy acids, which is basically your salicylic acid. So that we use those as leave-on masks.
Really interesting to know that a lot of those ingredients work across the board, from say your acne to your aging. And certainly what I've noticed is once I've hit the wrong side of 40 is my skin's changing a lot. Can you talk about some of those changes that women do see around that age and what you can do about it?
These days, perimenopause has been rebranded as menopause transition, and it happens over a very long period of time. So the definition of menopause is 12 months since your last period, and from about 7.5 years before then, you will start to see hormonal changes that show that your ovaries are starting to maybe not function as well as they used to, and that will have quite major implications for your skin. A large number of women in their 40s start to get breakout again, like, what is going on?
Seems very unfair to have wrinkles and pimples.
Not fair. And just as the time that all of the sun damage that you did probably as a kid is starting to catch up with you, and you're starting to get a few wrinkles and a few fine lines, and awesome, this is great, you're getting breakout as well. And it's peak time for women, particularly Anglo-white women, to get rosacea. So sometimes the breakout is not in your T-zone, but across the center of your face, and that's when your skin is super sensitive. You feel like you react to everything. That's certainly what happened to me in my 40s, and it's still with me in my 50s. But that is another really common problem. And, we will probably not mention chin hairs. And
may we never speak of them again.
No, we will not discuss them, but it is part of that hormonal phase.
It's extraordinary how much hormones have to do with skin, isn't it?
Insane. And then, of course, in the second half of menopause transition, which you're nowhere near yet, but it's in the second half of menopause transition, as you're heading towards 50, you start to get a really significant dive in your estrogen levels, and at that point a lot. The sun is able to break down collagen and elastin and prevents the enzymes that build them back up again. So you get your whole skin thins, it dries out, it's less capable of handling water. So you will just see your skin, often you see the little red blood vessels because your skin's much thinner, it feels much drier. The sort of moisturizer that did you just fine in your 40s is no longer strong enough in your 50s. You still feel dry. So those are the kinds of things that we see just hormonally as you're getting older, especially because as you're getting older, you're also seeing your sun damage catch up with you as well.
Yeah, I was even told I'd started getting what looks like acne scarring that I didn't have before. And a dermatologist said that's been there the whole time. But as my collagen's kind of departing, it's coming to the surface, which again was just like, oh my God.
But we can rebuild your collagen. I mean, I think that's back in the 80s when we first started using a bit of retinol and in the hope that we could rebuild collagen, I think it was like the holy grail. But that was when you used to hear dermatologists saying, oh, there's nothing that works in skincare. It's all hype. You just need to go and use soap and sorbolene. Well, we're so past that now. We do know you can rebuild collagen and elastin, and that certainly is doable with the right ingredients in the right, concentrations, and when you put them in the right order, etc.
So on that, Ginny, like I always think anti-aging is kind of a funny term. I struggle with it because I'm, as I get older, I'm glad I'm still alive, and I'm happy to be getting older, but I don't like all the things that are happening. What are some of the things, you just touched on it, what are some of the things that women sort of in their late 40s can do? So you've talked about collagen. What are some of the things they might want to focus on at that time?
So it's never too late to start a broad spectrum sunscreen from sun up to sundown, 365 days a year. It's not just in summer. And sunscreen is not just the stuff that you keep in your beach bag and just pulling it out when you go to the beach. It's actually got to be every single day because the sun continues to do damage. You definitely want to use your A's, your B's and your C's. Your C's need to go in the morning. Your A's need to go on at night. Your B's can go on in the morning or the night. If you're getting pigmentation, we can add in extra blockbuster ingredients as well. So particularly tyrosinase inhibitors. So tyrosinase is a particular enzyme that helps you make more melanin, more pigmentation. So if you're getting pigment clumps, you want a tyrosinase inhibitor so you can't make as much pigmentation. And the best one is 4-butyl-resorcinol, which is its very long name, but that's the one that we use, again, based on the studies. So they're the kinds of things you'd want to use. B, you can use twice a day. Again, exfoliation is critical, but we used to do exfoliation when I was a kid and was like plagued. I had a massive pizza face, so I always had horrible acne. My mum bought me this scrub that was made out of like apricot kernels. And it smelt beautiful. And it was like, it's such a car crash. Like I kind of can't believe that that's what I did. And then she took me to the Clinique counter and I got an alcohol-based toner, which is another car crash. It just dries up, and acne-prone skin is actually very dry. So we no longer exfoliate physically because it is pro-inflammatory, and inflammation is aging to the skin. So we want to make sure that you're not doing like a buff puff or like a scrub with microbeads. Those things are old school. We don't do those. We use leave-on chemical exfoliators, and that's just your alpha hydroxy acid products. You can do those in a salon as part of a peel, and dermatologists do them as a really intense peel where you have to go to like a hotel afterwards and your skin looks like a steak and this stuff just starts coming off and you can't go back to work for ages. But rather than let yourself ever get to that point, I would say I use an alpha hydroxy acid solution at night and then just shove on a combination. So my Ultimate A Plus has got A and vitamin B3 in together, and I just use that at night. Simple. That's it. It's done. I wouldn't use soap. Soap's another thing I'd avoid. Yeah,
that's very old school too, isn't it? Even just saying the word buff puff from my older sister had terrible acne, and I can remember her scratching away with that. And it's really amazing how much things have changed, and also how much people know now. But I think also with the knowledge, there's almost too much going on. So I think it's really good to lean on sort of what's evidence-based, what really works. With aging as well, Ginny, obviously there's lots of cosmetic interventions, but how much does your appearance of your skin contribute to looking young or fresh? Does it play a big role?
I think people get really fixated on wrinkles. To me, so I'm going to be 53 next month. I would say, and I've never done I don't do Botox or fillers. I don't go and get peels or microneedling or any of that sort of stuff. I just do skincare. I would say that the most important thing is pigmentation, and studies have shown that pigmentation ages you more than anything. That's number one. And then the other one is having smoother pores. So having smooth skin instead of the really deep pores, they make you look much older.
That's so interesting, because I think wrinkles, I don't mind my crow's feet and things like that. It's more that you just want hydrated looking skin, smooth looking skin. Obviously you've explained all the kind of things that are not helping achieve that, but I think skincare is a big part of that, and in the rush for people to erase wrinkles and things like that, if you've still got pigmentation, coarse skin, pores, you've just really taken the wrinkles out of the equation. It hasn't kind of contributed to the overall. You sort of, I guess good skin makes you look well as well, doesn't it?
I think it makes you look healthier, I think for sure. And I don't think you need to be super tanned. That was very 80s, that you needed to be looking the Palm Beach kind of look. in order to be looking healthy. I think with, Nicole Kidman, has shown us that you definitely don't need to look like you've just stepped out of a solarium to look great.
Yeah.
The fact that most skincare regimes that we were looking at had 50 different steps. Like, you could literally spend all night doing skincare, and it just doesn't need to be like that. Like, there's no reason why you need to separate vitamin C and vitamin E. Shove them in the same serum. Like, you don't need to separate vitamin B3 and vitamin A. They can go in together. There are steps that you can take to make your entire putting on skincare shorter than cleaning your teeth, which is what I do.
You touched on price, Ginny. So should looking after your skin cost a fortune?
No, it's definitely not the case. And when you unpack what are maybe some of the most expensive brands in the world, they actually are the least evidence-based.
Wow.
Some of them have got quite large legacy price tags on them, and they've sort of occupied the luxe end of the market. And so they price as part of a marketing strategy to sort of price at the premium end as opposed to having a premium product. Having said all of which, evidence-based raw ingredients are not cheap. The Retinol that I spoke about, which is the newer, more up-to-date form of vitamin A that's sort of superseded Retinol, that is still retailing at, since the pandemic, it's upwards of $35,000 to $40,000 per kilo. It's you can get it manufactured in Asia. We get ours in Europe. It needs to be transported to Australia, maintaining a cold chain of minus 70 degrees Celsius. We all know all about that now because of the Pfizer vaccines and how difficult that is. That is not cheap. If I wanted to do a retinol product, I could do it at a quarter of the price, but I wouldn't sell retinol because that wouldn't fit with the evidence skincare kind of title and brand. But some of the products will be expensive. The other thing is packaging really, really counts. So when you have key actives, if they're exposed to light, to heat, or to air, they can go off. And so we do what we call airless opaque bottles. And so they have a pump system to keep the products fresh and not exposed to air and not exposed to sunlight. So a lot of people have said, oh, it's so frustrating. Can't you do a clear package so we can see when it's running out? No, because the light will denature the ingredients. So, but expensive, good packaging is expensive. So, but a pot, which is often what the most expensive stuff comes in, cheap as chips. Really, you can go to a packaging show in China and you can just scoop them up for nickels.
And I've seen so many high-end products that have been around for years that come in a pot. Aren't you contaminating what's in the pot by putting your hands in it and exposing it to the air?
It will be contaminated by bacteria, which means if your skin is inflamed in any way, you risk a secondary infection. Ugh. And also, but the minute it's in a pot, I know that there's no evidence-based ingredients in there because all the evidence-based ones go off, right? So I know automatically that you've got a look nice, smell nice, beautiful pot, expensive celebrity endorser. That's what you got from that.
That's such a good tip. That's such a great tip. So beware of anything in a pot. For our viewers and readers, where can people find your skincare brand?
Oh, thanks, Kate. It's www.eskcare.com.
Great. And you can go on and do a quiz, is that right?
A quiz will pop up. So we really want everyone to do the quiz, even if it doesn't, it'll just be interesting for you just to see what we think is the right skincare for your skin.
Ginny, thanks so much.
Thanks, Kate.
I'm so glad I got a chance to talk to Dr. Ginni one-on-one. I think she's just made it so crystal clear. Look for those key ingredients that actually work. Look for the evidence. Look beyond the trademarked sciencey names. And for me, a massive takeaway was in the packaging. Look out for really transparent packaging. Look out for packaging where the product is exposed to the air every time you open it. And watch out for those pots of product, particularly those mega overpriced ones. You probably most definitely wasting your money there. Skincare doesn't have to cost a fortune, particularly if you choose products that are going to work for you. If you want to read more about ESK and Ginny's line, I've got a review in the description below. If you want to leave some comments on what's worked for you in skincare, I'd love to hear from you too. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, hit that bell for notifications for future episodes of the list, and I will join you next time for another thing to tick off that list. I'll see you then.